Hi everybody, Ron Placone here, and on the Indie Bohemians morning show today, we talked a good bit about Robin Williams. As I'm sure all of you know now, Robin Williams is no longer with us, and allegedly he took his own life. And yeah, it's a pretty heavy loss. And this morning it was kind of the first thing we talked about. It was like we got to acknowledge this, and we talked about Robin Williams. And one of the things I mentioned is I was driving in this morning, I was listening to NPR, and they said that Robin Williams started off as a comedian. That was kind of the way they put it. And I know what they meant by that, but my cordial disagreement there is that Robin Williams never really stopped being a comedian. And I would say in a lot of ways he was a comedian first, in various forms, but a comedian first and foremost. And I've learned over the past, I guess, 24 hours how many people, how many comedian friends of mine, colleagues, whatever you want to call it, that he inspired in some way. People that came across him in San Francisco, people that he saw perform once and had a lot to say to them, people that he kind of took under his wing. He stayed very active in the comedy community up until the end, and I personally never got to cross paths with him. I had a missed opportunity that I guess I'll always have to regret that now, and I'll tell that story in just a second here. But he was always very active. He liked a lot of comedy. He liked a lot of comedy that had a social conscience to it. He was a big fan of Jamie Kilstein, just for instance, and he was a big fan of Paul Provenza and Satiristas and all of that kind of work. He was very active in that community. He was close with Rick Overton. He stayed very active in the comedy community, even though he kind of had a lot of his own stuff going on. He still cared about that stuff a lot, and when you look at his film work, one of the things that I kept going back to was just how prolific he was. And something that my co-host Greg brought up is just like, gee, maybe the fact that he was everywhere and he was so active was because he was trying to escape something when he was alone. I mean, sometimes people stay busy because they're sort of looking to stay away from something else. And I guess maybe those demons, depression and addiction, both pretty behemoth demons, both demons that he suffered from, got the better of him. And that's heavy and that's hard, and it's something that's kind of heavy to digest, just because this is a guy that had all the resources that he could ask for to get help. I mean, this guy would go to rehab just to make sure he stayed on track. And he certainly had means to get any psychological assistance he would want, but those conditions and diseases were just too heavy and too real for him. In the end, it seems, and of course, we can only speculate so much. I never even got to meet the guy, but it really seems like that's the case, and that's what happened here, and that's kind of heavy. So. My missed opportunity, one time in Seattle, Washington, when I was living there was kind of like the big weekly show in town, a show called Laugh Hole, and Robin Williams was filming a movie there along with Morgan Murphy, and one evening they decided to just show up to the show. Robin Williams wanted to do some time, and the headlining comic that night was a comic who it was his 21st birthday. And he was a younger comic, and it was his 21st birthday, so he was headlining the show, and it was a big ordeal. And then Robin Williams shows up. How's that for a birthday surprise for a young comic? And Robin Williams went up, and he just kind of improvised the set. I wasn't there. I got to see the set on YouTube later, but he just kind of riffed with the audience, just kind of had a good time, and he wished the kid a happy birthday. He sang happy birthday to him. It was just a really, really sweet event, and everyone got to meet Robin Williams. Where was I on this evening? I was at a folk concert. I was seeing a folk show. One of my favorite folk artists was in town. It was a great show. I, of course, had no idea Robin Williams was going to show up that night to the comedy show. I was just, looking to just have a date night with my girlfriend, and a bunch of people texted me and they said Robin Williams is here. You got to come. You got to show up. And I was like in a neighborhood. It would have been like 2 buses to get to where Robin Williams was. So my thought was, by the time I get there, he might not even be there anymore, which is probably true. I probably would have missed him regardless. But, I figured he might not even. Plus, everyone's going to want to meet him. They're going to want to, I'll get to shake his hand, take a picture. That's it. I didn't think a whole lot. I just thought, whatever, I'm not going to be able to go. And I didn't go. And I guess now, I didn't think that would be my only opportunity. You think that in the comedy world, who knows if you might be in L.A. or New York or San Francisco and you might have a run-in with Robin Williams, because it happened to so many so many other comics I knew, and even more than I realized. Now that my cat's hanging out on my lap, and then she got a little hair come up here, made me itchy, but even more people than I realized had crossed paths with Robin Williams, and I have yet to find anybody that's had, and it's always been that he's been very encouraging, very enthusiastic, very passionate, and I think that passion was apparent in his film work and in his comedic work and in his stand-up and in all of that. But sometimes the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. I know that's a cliche, but in this case, it's very true. So I wanted to wanted to dedicate the summary today to Robin Williams. A good portion of our episode today was about Robin Williams, and so just wanted to take a little bit of time to acknowledge that. Thank you for tuning in, and this is Ron Placone signing out, and I just want to say addiction's very real, depression's very real, so let's just try to look out for one another, because at the end of the day, that's all we can do. That's all we can kind of take from this and learn from this. So be good to one another. It's Ron Placone signing out.